What's going on, everybody? Today we are going to be doing some more work on the actual garage, not just in the garage. I mean, technically in the garage because it's in the garage. We're going to begin hanging drywall on the ceiling and then finishing out with slapping it onto the walls as well. Get everything closed up, sealed up the best we can. We're not going to do mud or anything like that until it is warmer out. So then we can get hopefully a quote to spray insulation in the ceiling and make sure everything is completely insulated so that it's nice and toasty in here. Now I went ahead and rented a sheetrock hoist. Pretty easy to come by, not too expensive to rent for the weekend. This lifts up to 11 feet. Our ceilings up here are 9 feet. So this should be able to do the job, no problem. And then I also removed the first rail up here for the garage. We're gonna do a couple of sheets right here first, and then we're gonna put that rail back on and then remove the motor in the middle, and then kind of do it piece by piece, starting over here in this side, and then go all the way across over to where the Miata is parked later on. We got a big stack of drywall to hang, so we're gonna get right after it. There is 16 total pieces of drywall that should be able to cover the entire ceiling according to my calculations. Hopefully those are correct. I double checked and triple checked that I got the correct amount of sheets. We're gonna do what we can. We will have to kind of trim some of the pieces and splice them around a little bit just to utilize everything the best we can. We're using 8-foot sheets. This is a 12-foot section of roof, so 2 sheets in a row can't fit. We will have to trim them and then just kind of slide those smaller pieces down as we go. That being said, let's get to mounting this drywall up on the ceiling. All right, the first piece is hung up in place. We just have some screws in there so we can continue on. We're only renting it for about a day and a half so that we don't have to have it all weekend. So we're gonna kind of just plug along and get as much done as we can, as fast as we can, so we can return it tomorrow afternoon, and then we'll come back and do the walls later. It is day 2 of working on the drywall in the garage. We got 6 sheets of drywall hung on the ceiling last night. It took us about 2 or 2.5 hours. We are removing the rails for the garage doors completely off of the ceiling just to make it a little easier getting the drywall up there. I also broke a sheet of drywall yesterday by mistake when I was cutting out the little outlet deals for the openers. I fell on it and broke a piece. Minor mishap. We should hopefully still have enough to be able to finish out what we need without getting extra sheets. So we're gonna try and hammer this out before 2:30 so we can get this lift returned in time before the rental place closes. All right, give you guys a quick update. We got all of the pieces on the ceiling hung with about 2.5 hours to spare before the rental place closes. So we're gonna run and get the hoist returned so we can not get charged an extra day for that. We'll take a quick look. Everything is up there. I do need to go through and add a few more screws in some spots. Like in here, there needs to be some. I kind of just put 1 or 2 in the middle of each sheet just to hold it so we can keep things moving. Everything is bolted up and back in place, minus that cover on that outlet. I do need to like climb up into the ceiling and then lower that outlet box on the rafter up there. It's sitting too high. It's not gonna fit. Then we'll have to go back and clean up any rough edges and kind of some of these hanging pieces, get some of that cleaned up so it's all ready for the mudding when we get to that point later on. I'm not gonna do that just yet. We're gonna make sure it's nice and warm out before we do any type of mudding so that it dries and can cure properly, and then we're not out here in the freezing cold as well. I also have 2 extra sheets of the 4x8 that we're gonna be able to return as well and get a little bit of money back, and then we'll maybe invest that into something else for the garage or for the interior of the home. We're not gonna do drywall up here above the garage doors. We're actually thinking of doing something a little bit different because it's some weird, awkward pieces. And we don't wanna have to go around the spring for the doors. And then going through and little pieces in here, not ideal to try and have to remove all of the bracketry down the sides. Same in the corners. We're not sure if we wanna do these small little strips. We're gonna maybe do something a little different to seal that up. At least it's insulated for right now. We are gonna get back to doing the walls in just a little bit. We just wanna make sure we get that hoist returned before they close in just a couple of hours. It's only like a 10-minute drive into town. Get that dropped off, do a couple other things. We'll come back and finish out the walls. And there you have it. That's the final piece that we're hanging up in the garage. Now we're not totally completed or totally finished with the garage yet. We do still have to do the mud and tape, but we're gonna wait until it's warmer out to do that. We don't wanna do that when it's super cold. We wanna give it the best opportunity to cure properly and dry properly before we do any of that. But this is kind of the final look. All the walls are now drywalled minus the front wall. We're gonna do something different with that rather than try and cut little pieces up and put that in there. All of the ceiling pieces are up. Everything is almost all the way screwed down. I gotta do, screws in the middle here. Basically just did the perimeter of each sheet so we could get it hung. Same with the walls. Everything on the outside is basically screwed in minus some of the ones in the middle. So, didn't take as long as we originally thought, which is good. Now we can kind of finish up throwing some screws in and that'll wrap up the job. So we're gonna get the last bit of screws up on the ceiling real quick and then on the walls as well. Now, when I was thinking about the best way of marking everything out to where I can put the screws in, make sure that I don't miss the rafters up top, I was like, maybe do I just pull each one and measure it out and mark it with a marker? Nah, that's not gonna be very efficient. So I actually went to the hardware store and picked up a chalk line that I'm going to use as a string line. I couldn't find the actual string lines. I'm not gonna put chalk in it just yet. I don't wanna make a huge mess of chalk flying all over the place. So we're just gonna use it dry, hook it up with a screw on one end, pull it tight to the other side, and wrap it to a screw on the other side so that it is a nice straight line, so that all I have to do, move the ladder around, zip the screws in, and get this knocked out really quick. This should be really efficient, should be really easy to do. I do have to go up and over some of the rails for the garage opener and everything, but that's not gonna be that bad. So for the string line, it's a 100-foot chalk line. So I'm talking with this little eyelet that's at the end. We're gonna use a screw to be able to hook this onto and then run it across to the other side. And then we'll just take the string and wrap it around the screw on the opposite end. So it's nice and tight, and then you can just run through with the ladder and zip them right in. So we're gonna start with the first rafter up here. That I don't have to put a string line on. We're just gonna zip the screws in because that's right on the edge of the current drywall. That makes it really easy. And then basically in between each sheet is also a rafter. It's plain as day, that's where it's gotta go. So we're gonna zip those in real quick, then we'll hang up the string line and start getting the rest of the screws in. So I just have a hoodie on with a pocket full of screws. Makes it easier than carrying the box around. Yeah, just easy as that. Just run through, get any of the missed spots, get this thing knocked out. I got the easy screws all said and done. They're all in on all the seams. Those are the easiest ones without having to pull that string line. I went ahead and got that string line pulled on the first rafter. So it's red, you can see, stuck it on the screw right there. And then it just goes all the way along to the other end of the garage. All I did was wrap it around a few times on this last screw and then kind of hung it down here so it didn't just pop off of there. So now I can go through, hit 2 screws right there, hit a screw there, maybe right there, couple in this one, and so on. We'll get that nailed out real quick and be done with this line, then go over here, right there, and then over on that sheet. Now that we have all the screws in the ceiling, we're gonna zip in the screws into the walls and finish this out. And there you have it. Everything is completely screwed down. Everything is secured, walls and ceiling. It's a little bit echoey in here because it's not mudded or taped and it's not painted or anything. That's okay, it's just a garage, not that big of a deal. But we got everything finished, everything is completely sealed. It's holding and maintaining heat way better than it was in the past. I'm so excited for what we have in store for you coming up in future videos. If you have not yet subscribed to the channel, hop below, hit that subscribe button, smash that like button, drop a comment down below as well. Thanks for watching, stay tuned for the next one.